The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
Welcome back to Hardball. Donald Trump, as you just heard, threatened to wipe North Korea off the map. He also nicknamed its leader again, Rocket Man. Well, today, President Trump announced he was slapping new sanctions on North Korea and companies that finance trade with that country. Let's listen.
North Korea's nuclear weapons and missile development is a grave threat to peace and security in our world, and it is unacceptable that others financially support this criminal rogue regime. The regime can no longer count on others to facilitate its trade and banking activities. Many countries are working with us to increase economic and diplomatic pressure on North Korea.
Well, this week, President Trump also had tough talk for Iran and the nuclear deal the U.S. signed with them.
The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. Frankly, that deal is an embarrassment to the United States.
Well, yesterday, the president said a decision on whether to stay or leave that deal with Iran would come soon. NBC News reports he is leaning toward decertifying the nuclear deal and putting the decision of whether the United States withdraw from the accord in the hands of Congress. Well, on two major issues, North Korea and Iran, the president showing how unpredictable he can be. But what does the world think of all this? Sam Stein's politics editor at the Daily Beast, and Nayyera is a former national security official in the Obama White House. Sam, let's start with North Korea. So, of course, that was one of the axis of evils that George W. Bush talked about, Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. What will additional sanctions? I just don't know how anybody thinks a little more of this incremental war is going to work, an economic war is going to work.
Well, what are the other options is the question. I mean, every president prior to Trump has been hamstrung here, too. You can do a military option, you could do a diplomatic option, you could try to find something in between. And sanctions is basically the primary tool that you have in the something in between zone. The problem that Trump has is that sanctions have to be a means to an end. And the means to an end is some sort of agreement that would take away North Korea's nuclear capability or pause it or something of the sort. And what the template for that is the Iran deal. And we know that Donald Trump obviously thinks that the Iran deal was an embarrassment to the United States. So he has to find a way to be as much carrots as sticks, or at least some carrots in addition to sticks. And right now it's primarily sticks. And I don't know how that works, but he's trying to thread that needle.
Let me go to Nayyera on that one. What is the stick that works with this guy who seems to be concerned primarily with his own survival as dictator of North Korea?
Let's not pretend that Donald Trump is doing sanctions because it's actually good policy or it happens to be the tactic of the day. He's doing it because it's something he can put his name on. Because as our colleague mentioned, if he wanted to continue a sanction regime with the threat of military force following and move to a peace deal, that would be the Iran template. Instead, he's interested in undoing the Iran template, which would lead to nuclearization of Iran much sooner in the next year rather than the next 10 or 15 years. He would rather have that outcome and have his name on a deal or his name on an executive order than actually follow something that would work with the international community and bring these rogue actors to heel.
Well, you've said something I haven't thought of, and that is the fact that when it came to Iran, our threat, of course, was we'd have bunker buster bombs that we'd put into play and blow those whatever nuclear weapons he had ready over there. The Ayatollah would blow them to smithereens and hope for what was coming next. But in the case of Korea, North Korea, is it credible that we would have a weapons system capable of surgically hitting those weapons?
The challenge we're going to have with North Korea is a proximity to other allies and other people we care about. It's a very densely populated peninsula, and so South Korea needs to be, and the South Korean population need to be taken into account when we deal with any threat of military strike.
Sam, your thoughts on this? Is there any way to use the threat of force to get them to the table together with sanctions? Does the combo work this time?
Well, I suppose in a theoretical universe, yes. The problem is it doesn't seem to be the case right now. And also the problem is that Donald Trump has what seem to be sort of contradictory approaches here. So on the one hand, he's upping these sanctions. He's proposing secondary sanctions. He wants to completely cut off the regime in an attempt, ostensibly, to isolate its leader so that its populace turns on him. On the other hand, though, he does things like these rhetorical devices, Rocket Man, which, while they may be good for domestic political consumption, effectively elevate Kim in his own country into the villain of the United States who gets a stage alongside Donald Trump. So there are nuances to this approach that I believe the administration is missing. And I've talked to professional, longtime North Korean diplomats about this, and they think the Rocket Man approach is just plain old dumb. They think it's counterproductive, and they're not sure why he does it.
Well, I can't believe, we got to quit here, but I can tell you, I cannot believe he's going to destroy the Iranian nuclear deal. He ran on a promise of no more stupid wars. We avoided a war with Iran. Why does he want to open up the possibility of what? It makes no sense, whatever. Pottery House rules apply. You break it, you bought it. And he doesn't want nuclear Iran. Anyway, thank you, Sam Stein. Thank you, Nayyera. Please come back. Up next, Republicans are making a last-ditch effort, as everyone knows, to repeal the